Welcome to this learning opportunity for the Community Collective Impact Model for Change initiative. My name is Carrie Bergraff, and I am a member of the Collective Impact Training, Technical Assistance, and Evaluation team. Today, we are going to be discussing ecosystems, particularly why an ecosystem approach is important to the opioid crisis in Ohio, and how to create a collective impact ecosystem that will help your community move this important work forward. So first, why is an ecosystem important? As you know, the opioid issue is a difficult, wicked problem. The problem is moving fast, and this project and grant are also moving at a rapid pace. To keep up with the ever-changing environment of opioids, we have to work together to develop and implement innovative solutions. Bringing people together to collaborate through collective impact offers the most bang for your buck. Multiple sectors with differing expertise come together to develop solutions for the opioid crisis. But in bringing all these people and sectors together, it's important to have an ecosystem of sorts, some kind of structure, to ensure the work is getting done and everyone is able to contribute their time and talents where they are most needed. Without some kind of system, just bringing people to the table may have diminishing returns. This is where an ecosystem is important. In fact, one of the keynote presentations at the 2018 Ohio Opiate Conference was all about using an ecosystem approach to a wicked problem, in particular, the opioid crisis. In their report, the Deloitte Center found that the ecosystems that have made the most progress in addressing societal problems have the following 5 things in common. They engage a broad community of wave makers. They establish an ecosystem integrator to hold the whole and create space for the aligned action of others. They attack the problem with multiple interventions. They create an innovation engine to drive ideas, and they develop solutions in well-functioning markets. They also concluded that an ecosystem approach could become the best hope in the battle against opioid addiction. I have included emphasis here on some of the key crossovers from Deloitte's findings with the work that you as CCIM4C communities are already doing. These include engaging new partners, aligning action across the ecosystem, using a portfolio of interventions, and using a collaborative approach resulting in action as a single integrated community. This sounds a lot like collective impact. And luckily, we have been working on a more complete CCIM4C ecosystem to share with you all for the past month. So this is exciting timing. This month, we're going to be looking at these first 2 bullet points, engaging new partners and aligning action across the ecosystem. At the June Learning Community, our partners at Prevention Institute will be leading you through their Collaboration Multiplier training. The Collaboration Multiplier is a tool to support you in engaging multiple sectors, departments, and agencies that are essential to advancing your local collective impact efforts. This tool will help you to bring more people to the table, establish and deepen partnerships, and identify win-wins for all involved. We're excited for you to complete this tool and use it to form partnerships back in your communities. But when bringing new and existing partners to the table, it's important to think about how you're going to align action across your ecosystem, which is the second bullet point. When you have so many different sectors and people all at one table, there must be some kind of structure to keep the work moving forward. And this is what we're going to focus on today before you move into that collaboration multiplier at the end of June. Luckily, the department had the foresight to know that structure is important to this work. They even included the requirement to develop subcommittees as one of the 7 grant deliverables for this project. Therefore, structure is already built into this project, and you've already started doing it. Your task now will be to decide how exactly to set up that structure. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a sample CCIM4C ecosystem. Yours may look different. You may call your subcommittees by different names. You may not even call them subcommittees. Perhaps they are groups or champions or some other name. Whatever they may be, the work should be spread out amongst these groups so the subject matter experts can contribute their expertise and the work can be done simultaneously. So let's move into the CCIM4C ecosystem. Here is a slide of the full view of the CCIM4C ecosystem. Remember, this is just a sample of what your ecosystem may look like. On the left, you see the community response to the opioid crisis. These goals and subcommittees should look very familiar by now. On the right, you see the community response to the big, hairy, audacious goal, or what we've been calling the BHAG. Since we know the opioid crisis is not occurring in a vacuum, and there are several other wicked problems affecting your communities, we added the BHAG focus to this project during year 1. You will also see data flowing from the bottom into both areas, since this is a data-driven process. Around the outside, you will see the 12 Thrive sectors. These are your community partners. And finally, the top box shows your core leadership group. This includes the CCIM4C funded agency serving as the backbone, the project directors, and group representatives from each topic area. You can see there are arrows connecting all of the boxes, as information should be flowing between each entity in an effective ecosystem. All of these components are things we have been working on through the first year of the project. Now it's just about putting them all together. So now we're going to take a closer look at each part of our sample ecosystem. We'll start with the left side, which was the community response to the opioid crisis. Through the federal grant, we were gifted 2 main goals: to reduce opioid deaths and to increase access to treatment, including medication-assisted treatment. As a leadership team, we also gifted the communities with a sample subcommittee structure for your community's response to the opioid crisis. These 5 areas include demand reduction, supply reduction, overdose reversal, treatment, and recovery supports. You have also become familiar with the 12 Thrive sectors to ensure that you are bringing the right people to the table and exploring new opportunities with non-traditional partners or sectors in this work. As you worked within each subcommittee or subject area, you probably found overlap of these sectors, which is why they surround the entire community response. You need to take all sectors into consideration when approaching such a vastly wicked problem. Now we're going to move to the right side of the ecosystem, the community response to the BHAG. As stated earlier, we know that there are several other wicked problems affecting your communities, and these wicked problems may be just as big and hairy as the opioid issue, which is why the opiate response and the BHAG are given equal importance and footing in this ecosystem. Since each of your BHAGs will be different depending on what your data is telling you, you should develop a goal for your BHAG, just as we have goals for the opioid response. And when approaching your BHAG work, you should also divide up the BHAG into some kind of subcommittees or groups to ensure the work is split into actionable sizes for those with expertise in that area. The type and number of subcommittees will depend on your BHAG and your data, but it's likely too big an issue to tackle as one large BHAG group. Here, we show 2 subcommittee boxes, but you can add as many different groups as needed to divide up the work as you see fit. And again, your partners surround the entire community response to the BHAG, as you will need multiple partners and the right people at the table to tackle such a large issue. With both the community response to the opioid crisis and the community response to the BHAG, you can see that by having a structure of smaller subcommittees or groups in place, each subcommittee can focus on its area of expertise and bring in the sector partners needed for that plan area. Of course, as the middle arrows show, all of your subcommittees should continue to communicate with one another, including the opioid subcommittees and the BHAG subcommittees. Because the BHAG affects the opioid issue and vice versa, there must be continual communication and sharing amongst these subcommittees, even though they are technically in different boxes. Many of these sectors will also be represented across multiple subcommittees. And of course, data should be flowing into both responses and to each subcommittee, since the CCIM4C is a data-driven process, and each community needs to make decisions based on its local conditions. Finally, the subcommittees report their progress, findings, and plans to the backbone agency and the project directors. At this core leadership team meeting, the champions, or representatives of each subcommittee, report on the committee's work, but they also hear what the other subcommittees are doing. Here, it's important to think about timing as well. If your entire coalition is meeting once every month, your subcommittees or groups should probably be meeting more often to advance the work in their area. With the pace of the opioid crisis and this project, it is likely not enough for everyone to meet monthly as one large group and make significant progress. By dividing the work into a manageable structure, no matter what that looks like in your community, everyone knows their charge, can apply their expertise, and get going on the work. And as a leader, this means you won't have to do it all by yourself. You will have champions in each area to support you as you make decisions. And you can have more time to act as that ecosystem integrator that holds the whole and creates space for the aligned efforts of others. Now that you see what the sample ecosystem looks like, I want to quickly take you through an example ecosystem. For the community response to the opioid crisis, we'll be looking at the Recovery Supports Subcommittee. For this example, we're going to pretend this is one of our CCIM4C communities. Therefore, this subcommittee has already collected and analyzed its data, drafted its logic chains, and completed its strategic plan map. They have identified their causal factor and their root cause, which you can see on the screen. This community has also identified the sectors needed as partners at the table, who will likely serve as members of the Recovery Supports Subcommittee. For the community response to the BHAG, this community is focusing on a lack of employment as their overall BHAG issue. For this example, we'll be looking at the Employment for Individuals with a Criminal or Drug Use History Subcommittee. This subcommittee has also already collected and analyzed its data, drafted its logic chains, and completed its strategic plan map. They have identified their causal factor and root cause. Again, this community identified the sectors needed as partners at the table, who will likely serve as members of the Drug Use History Subcommittee. From this example, we can see that the data obtained on employment and past drug use was used on both the opioid side and the BHAG side. The Recovery Supports Subcommittee has chosen to focus on employment issues for those in recovery, while the community identified lack of employment as their overall BHAG. They further identified employment issues for those with a criminal history or history of drug use as a major issue in the community and created a subcommittee for that topic. It would only make sense that these subcommittees communicate and share information with each other, even though they are technically working on two different BHAGs. They are also likely working with the same partners or sectors. As we zoom out on our ecosystem, we can see where our two example subcommittees, our subcommittee champions, and our partners fit into the larger structure. Again, each partner, subcommittee, and community response team has its own individual work and tasks to accomplish, and are likely meeting more often as a smaller group to advance that work. But it takes all of these small, constant, collective efforts across the board to build this diverse, well-functioning ecosystem that can keep pace with the opioid crisis and create lasting solutions. We hope this video helps to set the groundwork for the Collaboration Multiplier training on June 28th. Remember, as you are thinking of bringing people to the table, establishing and deepening partnerships, and identifying win-wins for all involved during that training, it's also important to think about how you're going to mobilize all of these people and partners toward your common goals. How are you going to align action across your ecosystem? The structure will ultimately be up to you and your community. But to keep this work moving forward, you must organize an effective ecosystem to best use the time and talents of all those involved in this important work. Thanks for spending some time with me today and looking at the CCIM4C ecosystem, and we look forward to seeing everyone at the end of June.